Hey bees, I'm Marie from Humblebee and Me, and today we are making an absolutely lovely, gentle aloe and chamomile facial cleanser. I am completely smitten with this stuff. In fact, the whole reason there's a video is because I motored through the entire batch that I made for the blog post, and I thought, oh well, I need more of this, so I'll film it. And then this can be one of those two for like blog post video same day kind of deals. I have been experimenting with washing my face with non-soap things lately, so with more surfactant-powered facial cleansers. And so this is sort of my riff, or at least one of my very first riffs, on a sort of more standard, like gel, foamy kind of facial cleanser thing. It's got a lot of great stuff in it. It's got, of course, aloe vera, it's got chamomile essential oil, it's got some conditioning honeyquat, some soothing Allantoin. I've looked that up so many times that I'm almost never certain if I'm saying it correctly anymore. Because every single one is stuck in my brain as being like the wrong way to say it, and one is stuck in my brain as being the right way to say it. And then I feel like I just sort of mix and match the syllables from each category, and I just don't even know anymore. I have really been enjoying using this cleanser. I motored through a batch of it in about 2.5 weeks, so that should give you an idea of how much I love it, because if you make as much stuff as I do, finishing anything is a miracle, and making it again, especially like right after I made it the first time, is a huge vote of awesomeness. So I definitely think that you should try this. It is really lovely. It gets all my makeup off really, really easily. It doesn't leave my skin feeling super strip and dry. Like, obviously it is a cleanser, so I do always follow up with a moisturizer, but it doesn't leave you with that really sort of like super tight face thing going on. I love how it smells of spruce with a little bit of chamomile, beautiful lather, all silky, all awesome. Yeah, basically I kind of can't say enough awesome things about this facial cleanser right now, so I think that we should go make some. The first part of this recipe is getting our surfactant blend dissolving. We're using a blend of sodium cocoa isethionate and Amphosol CG. And the sodium cocoa isethionate is pretty slow to dissolve, and it will eventually dissolve in the cocoa betaine or the Amphosol CG, but it takes a while. So we're just going to do this part first. I'm going to leave it overnight, and then we can kind of come back and wrap it up tomorrow. I'm not going to leave it on the heat overnight though. Obviously that's not a great idea. So we're doing 14 grams of Amphosol CG, and we're doing 6 grams of sodium cocoa isethionate. But before I open this bag, I'm putting on my dust mask, because inhaling this, if you can imagine what it would be like to snort powdered dish detergent, it's roughly like that. So go get your dust mask and put that on. So what'll happen is this starts to melt together, or dissolve, is these white bits will swell up and get a little jelloid-like, and then you'll eventually just have a uniform paste in here. But this does take quite a while, like at least an hour, even for this small amount. So do this part ahead of time, knowing that you're not going to be making a cleanser in just 20 minutes, not yet at least. But yeah, if you can remember to get this part started early, it's not as big of a deal. So I'm just going to pop it in here. So it's just a small saucepan with about 2 centimeters or 2/3 of an inch of water in it. And I'm going to go put this on the stove over low heat and just kind of keep an eye on it. Make sure it doesn't simmer dry. Since I am planning on leaving this overnight, I'll just turn the heat off before I go to bed, come back in the morning, see what's happened, and yeah. Well, it's actually been about a week. The days just really got away from me, but here you can see this has now chilled to room temperature, so it's not very squishy. We will reheat it, but you can see that it is fairly uniform, whereas before you could definitely see white blobs. So we'll reheat that as we heat our water phase. So in this beaker I have 77 grams of distilled water, and to that I'm going to add 3 grams of vegetable glycerin, 2 grams of honeyquat, 2 grams of panthenol, 1.5 grams of hydrolyzed silk, and you could use a different hydrolyzed protein instead if that's what you have. 1 gram of Allantoin, and half a gram of 200 times aloe vera concentrate powder. All right, so I'm gonna give this a quick little stir, and then I'm gonna pop it in our water bath. And I'm gonna go put this on the stovetop over medium heat for about 20 minutes. So what I'm looking for is I'm looking for this to get quite hot, the water part to get quite hot, and that is so we can whisk in some xanthan gum and actually have a sort of a thick consistency to this. If you try to whisk xanthan gum into cold water, you get a lot of clumpy blobs of xanthan gum, so it needs to be quite hot. So that's sort of thing number one. The added heat will also help the Allantoin dissolve, otherwise it can be kind of shardy on the face, which is not the kind of exfoliation anybody wants. And then it will help this surfactant blob soften up into a paste. So after we whisk in the xanthan gum, we can add this and actually scrape it out of this little beaker and then get everything all mixy, and that's about it. So yeah, let's go heat this up. So about half an hour later, and this is all steamy and melted, and you can see that this has become pasty and globby again. Awesome. All right. So I'm actually going to leave this in here because we want the water to be as hot as possible. So this is a great way. Honestly, I would probably do this over top of my stove if I wasn't trying to film it for you. So this is a great place to use something like this because this is not very thick, at least not right now, and it will do a great job of blending in the xanthan gum, which you want to add really slowly, just like sprinkle and blend. This poor little blender is really not doing the job here. I think I'm probably going to need to get a hand whisk and beat the ever-living daylights out of this myself. Alright, well, now as I look at this, I'm thinking it would have been really quite smart of me if I had done the surfactant blend in a container large enough to hold everything. So we'll sort of see how this goes. Because the surfactant blend obviously is the more viscous mixture of the two, so usually you want to be adding the less viscous mixture to the more viscous mixture. Aha! Alright, well, it's kind of working. I'm not going to be able to stir very much. Learning experience. Last time I did scrape it out and it worked kind of just fine, but this seems like it would actually be even easier. Alright. So I'm going to put this back in our water bath now and go put this over the stove and keep heating it through to help the surfactants dissolve, because as you can see, they're just kind of blobbing there and then blobbing at the bottom, but they will eventually dissolve and incorporate with some added heat and a bit of patience. So this has not finished dissolving and mixing, but it has done well enough that it's pulling all the surfactant out of the beaker, so I can kind of get this nice and clean and move it to somewhere where I can actually stir. So hopefully you'll be able to learn from my mistakes and skip this step and just start with a larger beaker. It's starting to incorporate, but you can definitely see there's still a bunch of white blobs in there. So we need those to soften up more and incorporate, and then we're pretty darn close to being done. So back on the water bath we go. So it's been about 20 minutes and I've been stirring this on and off using my spatula to sort of smush up any lumps and bits, and so we have a nice uniform mixture here. So really what we need to do now is leave this to cool because we don't want to add our essential oils and preservatives while it's still quite hot. But once it's cool, then we can add those ingredients and transfer it to our pump top bottle, and that is that. So I'm gonna leave this for probably about half an hour, maybe go have some lunch, come back, and yeah. Half an hour later, I have had some lunch and some puppy playtime, and this is cooled down so we can add our essential oils and preservative. So for essential oils, we're going to do 2 drops of Roman chamomile and 8 drops of spruce. And in here I have half a gram of liquid Germall Plus. And that's about that. We've got our pump top bottle here. So this is a 100 milliliter pump top bottle from Yellow Bee, and I love the 100 milliliter size as opposed to the more typical 120/4 ounce size, because this is sort of a exactly 100 milliliter batch. So squirt. You'll definitely want to use a funnel for this because it is so thick that trying to pour it out of the pouring spout is very vaguely rage-inducing. All right, and that's pretty easy there. And so pop your pump top in, and there you go. You just made a gentle chamomile and aloe facial cleanser. Thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe and check the description box below for the full written recipe, links to everything I use, and the full written recipe on my blog. See you next time.